Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest Riker. The NBA news, it's been going wild. We just had the NBA draft and now free agency's just around the corner. And one name that has been linked to the Toronto Raptors already is an unexpected name, I'd say, and it's coming from Shams himself. I don't have the Shams bomb or whatever segment we're creating for him yet, but I'll play the Woj bomb because Shams and Woj are on the same level. But if you look at it, there's a few teams that are expected to be interested, expect to be targeting Lonzo Ball, and according to Shams, it's the Bulls, the Celtics, and the Toronto Raptors. Obviously drafting a bunch of guards in this year's draft, 3 to speak. I'm not sure what order the videos are going in, but we had the Scottie Barnes video and we were breaking down the 2 second-round picks. Riker, where does Lonzo Ball potentially fit with this Toronto Raptors team? Because we are pretty loaded at the guard position right now.
But are we in the age of positionless basketball where Scottie Barnes was drafted with the F symbol next to him forward? And same thing with our boy Delano Banton. He's listed online as small forward, even though both of them played the point. They can go up and play that forward position and just be a ball handling forward, which again, I say I love that when you can have your confidence that anybody can pick up the ball, bring it across the half. That's a great feeling to have that, it's not going to get picked and whatever. So there's confidence that those guys can slide up because of their defensive versatility. Specifically on Lonzo Ball, money aside, Max Kellerman said it best. Who wouldn't this guy fit well with on the team? He is an improved three-point shooter, shooting almost 38%. He'll give you 15 points per game. He's a teammate raiser. He brings the best out of his teammates because of his court vision, his bullet passing, his ability to see the court in transition, his ability to throw lobs, a guy that can play defense, can play offense, has good length, good size. I mean, Lonzo Ball is an incredibly solid NBA player. So if he becomes a backup point guard to Fred VanVleet, or even, maybe sometimes takes those starter minutes and Gary Trent Jr. goes to the bench, that would be really solid. Now, the money part is where I start to get my question marks and my eyebrows raised on this one. Like, really, the Raptors are looking at this guy? But if you just look at Lonzo, the player, I mean, of course he's going to be linked to this, to interest for the Toronto Raptors.
Well, Lonzo Ball is the prototypical new age Toronto Raptor, Riker. As you mentioned, very long, can pass, dribble, shoot, does everything on the court. Not necessarily anything at a remarkably high level, right? He's not a Dame Lillard-esque player, Steph Curry, where he's going to be hitting threes in your face, doing this, doing that. But he does, as you brought up, the stats are really encouraging with Lonzo Ball, right? Specifically this season, he increases three-point shooting, he increases scoring. You can see it on the screen there, 15 points per game, 38% from the three-point line. So definitely a guy that, obviously with the question marks about his jump shot, right? The shooting over there on the other side of the body. He's fixed his form now. It's straightforward. Even though that's our forms, whenever we do the forms inside these little boxes, Riker, people roast us because we got to keep it inside on the screen. But Lonzo Ball's jump shot has certainly improved. And you mentioned it, Riker. Like, sure, we do have a lot of guys. We have a lot of young players. But if he can sort of come in and be that established trio of him, Fred, and Gary Trent Jr., whoever's starting, whoever's doing this, whoever's doing that, that could be a really lethal trio. Just defensively, offensively, they can all pass, dribble, shoot, defend. Outside of Fred, they're all long, but Fred makes up for his lack of length and size and just pure grit and toughness that we've seen the Toronto Raptors guards do. But obviously the big question, the reservation that a lot of people would have is the money. Lonzo Ball likely going to be making $20 million per year this contract. That's what its projected range, and honestly has earned it. He's a young player and he's coming into his first big contract. Is that worth probably a guy that's going to be your sixth man, especially when you have a Malachi Flynn already on your roster?
Malachi Flynn is nowhere near the player of Lonzo Ball, nor is he a scorer off the bench, right? He can score. Fourth quarter Flynn, right? Crimson Flynn, whoever named that one. I think that's the nickname we stuck with at the end. But he is not at the level that Lonzo Ball is at. He's not the passer. He's not the rebounder of Lonzo Ball. He's not the size, the length, nor the athleticism. Lonzo Ball is a tremendous NBA guy because again, he raises the floor of all of his teammates because of his ability to get everyone else involved. And he's a selfless player. He doesn't need the ball in his hands. He doesn't need to be the creator. And his 3-point improvements, I think, are the best facet, the best speaking point on Lonzo Ball. But it is an issue because, well, it's not an issue for a role, because I could see Gary Trent Jr. actually becoming the sixth man of this team because he played that role in Portland. He's still super young. He didn't seem to have the same issues as Norm and being able to put it on if he's coming off the bench. So
he did a bit.
Sorry?
He did a bit.
But listen, he was trying to make sure the Raptors, or that not too many people would give him that big offer so that the Raptors wouldn't have to crazy overpay. We're still going to pay him $20 million. Fred VanVleet's getting 20. OG is going to get, or is getting 18 or 20, whatever he's getting paid. Siakam's getting 30. Lonzo would get 20. We still don't have a center, Ben. That's my issue with this whole thing, is how much cap space are we going to lock up in our guards before we actually get a center? And that's why I think maybe Siakam's going to get traded. Maybe Fred VanVleet will get traded. I don't know. The reports aren't there for Fred VanVleet, but this would maybe suggest that Lonzo could be that guy if there's an offer for Fred out there that would bring back a center in return. I don't hate the idea of Lonzo on the team. I do hate the idea of paying him $20 million and not change anything else about the roster.
Yeah. See, the thing about it is Lonzo Ball, he's worth that contract, right? He's a guy that deserves that $20 million per year. It's not an overpay. That's right around the range that he deserves. His playmaking, shooting, defense, rebounding, all of those things, and his gradual improvement across the league, right? Kyle Lowry, he deserves the money for other reasons, just based off of his past, his history, and all these sorts of things. But Kyle Lowry, he's not really what we need right now, specifically when we have a Fred VanVleet. We need some young guys in our core to really build up and make their own run in this Toronto Raptors team, even though you and I aren't opposed to bringing back Kyle Lowry. But at 3 years, $90 million, which it's rumored the Pelicans might be willing to offer him, right? That's where we sort of get our reservations and say, okay, the Kyle Lowry, that's a lot of money for an aging point guard, which, you know, he had a tremendous season last year and he's been relatively healthy, but we both know, watching this guy over the past however long since we've been watching the Toronto Raptors, since he's been on the team, he is quite injury prone, and since he's been good recently, I'm happy he's going to cash in on that bag. But at 37, 38, 39, I don't know if I trust him to be on the court with his style of play and these sorts of things. So money-wise, you're cool with it, but Riker, as you brought up, having a center, you want to dump that money into a center if you can. And even if it's a lesser player than Lonzo Ball, just positionally, and, you know, we brought up the Malachi Flynn comparison. So one thing I do want to say about Malachi Flynn is he was only a rookie last season in a very chaotic year for the Toronto Raptors. So it makes sense that he was up and down, and maybe didn't live up to the... I thought he was great the second half of the year, but didn't live up to the preseason hype where maybe you and I were comparing him to Steph Curry and, you know, the greats of all time. But I think there's room for Malachi Flynn to grow and maybe turn into a Lonzo Ball-esque player who I think, you know, Malachi Flynn is obviously smaller, not the rebounder, but I think is more of a natural shooter and can play make and can defend. So that's an area for Malachi Flynn to come in. But Lonzo Ball over... Lonzo, I'll pay Lonzo Ball if we're not getting a center. If we're not getting a center regardless, or we have money left over, it's worth the contract to bring in, have the asset, and then, as you said, figure things out via trade. But if we have the opportunity to maybe cash out on a Jarrett Allen or one of these different types of players, then you obviously siphon that money elsewhere than a Lonzo Ball.
Yes. And remember, too, Malachi Flynn was a rookie. What'd you say?
A sign and trade for Lowry 1-for-1 could potentially work if we wanted to do that. So there is that side of things there.
I was going to say point guard swap. They're going to pay our point guard. We pay their point guard. Again, I would like Lonzo on this team because it's a good system for him where he's a pretty selfless point guard. We still do need that scoring, but I think Fred VanVleet could take that mantle this year, do better than he did last season. Gary Trent Jr. I like the fit. I don't like the money. You're right. It makes more sense to pay a guy like Jarrett Allen if we're gonna cash out. But
yep,
that's it. Oh, right. I had a point on Malachi Flynn. Yeah, he was a rookie, but remember, he's also 22, 23 years old because he played majority of his tenure in college. So he's only a year younger than Lonzo Ball. even though he has 4 years less experience in the NBA. So they're pretty close. So potential, I don't know how much potential you have to keep improving when your age is relatively the same, but there's no denying Lonzo Ball is the better player right now. So he'd obviously have that spot. He wouldn't need to prove it or earn it. He would just come in and be either the starting 2 or the backup 1. I don't know which would be most optimal for him,
Well,
but
maybe start Lonzo at the 1. Jello Ball, free agent Riker, could potentially come in on this Toronto Raptors team. You and I, we've made videos in the past about Lonzo Ball. For our first ever video, we talked about the Raptors signing Jello Ball to the 905. So, I don't know. Maybe that's a storyline to look out for. Would you like to see LeVar Ball repping the Toronto Raptors, Riker?
I would like more media attention on the Toronto Raptors because they typically get overlooked when they're not right commanding attention because they're top of the Eastern Conference. And even when they are top of the Eastern Conference, the media, the American media still seem to slam them and overlook them and not give them the credit they deserve. So if you had a guy as vocal as LeVar Ball in our corner, they'd have to give Toronto at least a look. So I would love to see it. And I'd love to get Jello on the team, 3-point shooter off the bench. Nothing wrong with it.
Rep the squad. The Ball family, they're coming, Ball and the family, hitting north. They were in Lithuania, now they're coming to Canada. But let us know what you guys think about potentially signing Lonzo Ball. We should have had the Shams segment ready, Riker. I'll try and get that going before the free agency period begins. But you guys have best to make this far. Check out the Instagram, the TikTok, all that cool stuff. We had our first post on Instagram in like a month today, Riker. So I'm pretty proud to get that back up and rocking. But you guys are the best. Any last words on Lonzo Ball, Riker?
That's it. Cheers.